I overheard my wife drunkenly bragging to her friends. He's too stupid to notice I've been lying for years. They all howled with laughter. I didn't say a word, but when she showed up sobbing at my apartment door, she got a financial reality check she never saw coming. The weekend I'd been looking forward to for months. Wrecked. I was supposed to be in Charlotte with the crew, knee-deep in turbochargers and race fuel, but a slow-moving thunderstorm wiped out all private departures. My boss called it around 10 that morning. By noon, I was driving home with a half-empty cooler and a bag of unopened track gear in the back seat. I'd been bummed at first, but halfway down the highway, I started thinking maybe the universe was doing me a favor. Clara didn't know I was coming. I figured I'd surprise her, grab takeout, bring a bottle of that red she likes, and maybe we'd finally have a real night together without her being buried in DMs and fake smile Zoom calls. My name's Nate. I'm 33, and I work as a private aviation mechanic out of a hangar in Norfolk, Virginia. My wife, Clara, she's 32, runs some kind of life coaching empire. Empowerment Wellness or something. To be honest, I never fully got what she does, but she's good at it. Big social following, always booked solid. We've been married almost 6 years. When I turned onto our street, everything looked normal. The trash cans were still out by the curb. The solar lights were on. I cut the engine and coasted into the driveway real slow, thinking I might catch her reading on the patio or curled up on the couch with one of her tea blends. But the second I opened the truck door, I heard it, laughter. Loud. Almost cackling. Definitely wine-fueled. It was coming from the backyard. I smiled to myself at first. Clara always said she didn't have time for social stuff anymore, so I figured maybe she finally carved out a girls' night. But then I heard my name. I paused with my hand on the door. Nate. Someone giggled. I couldn't make out the voice, but it wasn't Clara. Oh my God. Stop, Clara slurred. Definitely buzzed. Don't make me laugh. I'll pee. More laughter. Then Clara's voice again, clearer this time. No, seriously, he still doesn't have a clue. It's been, like, years. Actual years. I froze. Another woman chimed in. Wait, you mean Eric? That's still going. Clara laughed. Still going? Babe, he flew me to Austin last month. Nate thought I was running a retreat in Asheville. He's so dense, I could literally text Eric while sitting next to him, and he'd just think I'm dealing with a client meltdown. Damn, someone said. You're savage. Clara raised her voice like she was proud of it. Savage? No. Strategic. I mean, the man changes oil for a living. He thinks Michelin stars are tire ratings. The table erupted in laughter again. I didn't move. I just stood there next to the truck, the sound of their voices tunneling into me like a drill. I could see the patio lights through the side fence, the flicker of candles, the shadows of women with wine glasses raised. Clara, my wife, the woman I came home early for. She was in there drunk, laughing at me, tearing me down in front of her friends, calling me stupid, mocking my loyalty. I backed away slowly, got back in the truck. I didn't slam the door or peel out of the driveway. I just started the engine and rolled down the street, past the solar lights, past our little mailbox with both our names on it. I had no idea where I was going. I just knew I wasn't staying there. Not anymore. I ended up parked outside a gas station just off I-64. One of those 24-hour places with flickering lights and a bathroom key tied to a cinder block. I don't remember the drive there, really. My hands were locked on the wheel. I straight ahead. No music. No thoughts, just static. I sat there with the engine running, staring at the neon open sign like it owed me something. Eventually, I killed the ignition and pulled out my phone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Not my mom. Not my brother. But one name stuck out, Brian. I'd known Brian since we were in vocational school together. We ended up working the same tarmac and pretty much became brothers by default. He was the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back and then cuss you out for not asking sooner. I hit call. He answered on the second ring. Yo. I didn't say anything at first. Nate. I cleared my throat. Yeah. You busy? There was a beat of silence. You okay, man? No, I said. Can I crash at your place? Where are you? Waverly Shell. Off 64. Stay put. I'll buzz the gate. Come straight in. 10 minutes later, I was sitting on Brian's beat-up leather couch, clutching a mug of microwaved coffee like it was a lifeline. His wife, Melissa, had offered to make up the guest room, but I told her the couch was fine. I wasn't planning to sleep anyway. Brian sat across from me, elbows on his knees. So, what happened? I stared at the mug. She's been cheating. With someone named Eric. His jaw tightened. Clara. I nodded once. Jesus. You sure? I told him everything. The laughter. The voices. The jokes. Word for word, like I was reading from a transcript that had branded itself into my skull. When I was done, Brian sat back and blew out a long breath. Damn. That's cold. She was laughing, man. Like it was funny. Like I was some kind of punchline. You want me to drive over there? No. I said quickly. No, I don't want to see her. Not yet. Brian nodded slowly. Smart. Don't go back. Not tonight. You need a plan. That night, I lay awake on his couch, staring at the ceiling fan turning slow circles overhead. My thoughts kept dragging me back to all the things I should have seen. Clara's sudden yoga trips. Her new wardrobe. The password-protected laptop. The way she'd started putting her phone face down on the table. I had chalked it up to business stress. Burnout. Creative waves, she called them. I was a fool. Around 4 a.m, my phone buzzed. Clara. Hey babe. Hope the storm didn't mess up your plans too bad. I'll be up late. Let me know when you're headed home. I stared at the message, every word like a slap. She was pretending nothing happened. Like I hadn't been standing 10 feet away while she fed her friends the story of my humiliation. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a new note on my phone and typed 3 words. Gather. Everything. First, if she wanted to play pretend, I'd let her for now. But I wasn't coming back empty-handed. The next morning, I was still wide awake when Brian came downstairs, already dressed for his shift. He took one look at me and didn't ask if I'd slept. He just handed me a fresh cup of coffee and clapped a hand on my shoulder. You don't owe her anything. Not even an explanation, he said. But if you're gonna do this, do it right. No half measures. I nodded. That was when I made the decision. I wasn't going to confront Clara, not yet. I needed proof. The kind that didn't get twisted in court or buried under her fake crying and Instagram-filtered apologies. By noon, I was back at the house. She was out, probably filming some How to Manifest Boundaries video. I let myself in through the garage, heart thudding like a drum in my chest. I wasn't there to argue. I wasn't even there to feel. I had a job to do. First stop, her laptop. I knew the password. She thought she'd been slick changing it 2 months ago, but she'd reused one of her favorite affirmations. Vibrate higher 33. I typed it in, and just like that, I was in. I downloaded everything, her text backups, her call history from the cloud, even the contents of a hidden folder tucked behind nested subfolders labeled Client Programs. Inside were photos, hotel bookings, messages between her and a contact saved as Coach E. There were screenshots of plane tickets purchased during weekends I thought she was in Asheville. One charge lined up with the weekend of my dad's memorial. That one made my hands go numb. Next was her phone. I installed a cloning app that mirrored her texts and call logs to a secure cloud account I created under a fake name. I didn't need to monitor her forever, just long enough to build a timeline. After that, I took photos of everything I could find. Expensive shoes still in the box, random gift receipts from jewelry stores I'd never stepped foot in, handwritten notes in her journal about losing track of time with E. I kept everything organized, labeled, and uploaded. This wasn't revenge. This was documentation. 2 days later, I met with a divorce attorney recommended by one of Brian's cousins. Her name was Vanessa. She wore sharp suits and sharper expressions. The kind of woman who didn't blink when I told her what Clara had done. She's using marital assets to fund her affair, I said, handing over a printed list of transactions. Vanessa flipped through the papers. You've already done half my job for me. She's not going to see it coming, I said. I want it clean. Quiet. No drama until I file. She nodded. Smart. But you'll need to protect your non-liquid assets. Any tools, heirlooms, documents, get them out of that house. Do it now. So I did. Over the course of the week, I moved everything important into a storage unit under my brother's name. My late grandfather's watch. My mechanic certifications. Spare keys. Paperwork. Even the old motorcycle I'd been restoring in the garage. All of it, gone before she noticed. The next time Clara brought up her day, it was about some influencer client who'd left a snarky review. She sat at the kitchen island, swirling wine and fake pouting. She said I didn't seem authentic. Can you believe that? I nodded slowly, eyes on my sandwich. That sucks. You work so hard. She smiled, like I just handed her a gold star. Thanks, babe, she said, reaching across the counter to touch my hand. You're my rock. I smiled back. I didn't pull away. She had no idea the ground beneath her was already crumbling. It started with eggs. Scrambled. Soft. The way I like them. Toast buttered just right. Clara served it to me in bed with a smile that felt about 2 years too late. Surprise, she said sweetly. Thought you deserved a relaxing morning. She hadn't made me breakfast since the year we got married. Now suddenly she was waking up early, playing housewife like it was the new brand of her coaching business. I watched her flit around the kitchen in a silk robe, humming like nothing was wrong. The show had begun. She started dressing differently too, more conservative, like she was auditioning for a modesty commercial. She planned us nights, cooked dinners, made playlists with titles like For My Person. She even brought up investing in a lakeside condo for when we're old and gray. I played along. Every compliment, every kiss on the cheek, every suggestion that we take a little getaway. I nodded, smiled, and kept my voice warm. Inside, I was stoned. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or fear driving her. Maybe Eric was getting sloppy. Maybe she could feel something shifting beneath her. Either way, I didn't care. I had a plan, and I needed her distracted. So while she baked brownies and massaged my shoulders, I went to the bank. I'd like to freeze our joint accounts temporarily, I told the banker. We've had some suspicious charges and my wife's card got declined last week. Just precautionary. She nodded sympathetically. Of course, Mr. Carlson. I smiled. Appreciate it. Then I removed her access to the house deed, updated my mailing preferences, and rerouted anything legal, medical, or financial to a new P.O. box I'd opened under my name alone. Clara didn't notice a thing. Until the boutique incident. She'd gone to some upscale store with Tessa, probably planning to drop $300 on crystal-infused candles or whatever, and her card got declined. Twice. She texted me in a frenzy. Clara, is our bank having issues? I just got super embarrassed at Reverie. Me? Huh. Weird. I'll check with them. That night, she stormed through the door, cheeks flushed. Did you mess with the accounts? She snapped. I blinked. No. I told you, I think it flagged for fraud. I'll call in the morning. She huffed, pacing, clearly unsettled. But she didn't push. Not yet. I'd built a strong enough foundation of clueless husband behavior to keep her second-guessing. Let her wonder. A few days later, I made my move. I met Rena, Eric's wife, at a quiet park just outside town. She was shorter than I expected, soft-spoken, wearing old jeans and a sweatshirt that said, "World's okayest mom." She looked tired. Older than 35. I handed her a sealed envelope. Everything's in there. Screenshots. Travel records. Messages. Photos. She didn't open it right away. Just held it like it weighed 50 pounds. How long? She asked. Clara said it started before our second anniversary. Her face stayed still, but her throat bobbed. I thought I was crazy, she whispered. He said I was paranoid. You weren't, I said quietly. She nodded once, slowly, then tucked the folder into her tote bag and stood. Thank you, she said. You didn't have to tell me. I met her eyes. Neither did he. When I got back home that night, Clara greeted me at the door in a sweater I'd never seen before, smiling like the world hadn't already begun collapsing behind her. And I smiled right back. Because every step she took toward me now was one step closer to the edge. Clara had been planning her wellness gala for months. A full-day retreat/celebration/activation of feminine power. There were pastel banners, catered kombucha, live acoustic music, and a keynote speech she'd rehearsed every night for a week straight in front of our living room mirror. This is going to be huge, she kept saying. Game changer level. Sponsors are flying in from LA. I nodded, like the proud husband I was pretending to be. That morning, she was up at 5, already curling her hair and laying out her sage green wrap dress. I watched her glide around the bedroom, humming to herself like her life was picture perfect. She kissed my cheek on the way out. Wish me luck, she said. Always, I murmured. By the time she hit the stage, I was already on my way home from the storage unit, where I'd stashed the last few photos I didn't want sitting in our house when everything hit the fan. The gala was live-streamed on her coaching group's private feed. I logged in from my laptop and set the volume low. Clara looked radiant, of course, makeup flawless, smile glowing. She always did shine brightest when there was an audience. Today, she began, is about becoming fully aligned. About being brave enough to step into your power, without apology. That was when Rena struck. I didn't see the actual confrontation. I wasn't there in person, and Rena didn't make a scene with cameras rolling. She did something much more effective. She sent a single group message. One that included Eric, Clara, and every business contact tied to Clara's coaching brand, her sponsors, collaborators, a few major influencers, and even the press team she'd hired on a freelance basis. Subject: the truth about Clara and Eric. Read before today's speech. The message had no fluff. Just a paragraph of context, followed by attachments. Every file I'd given Rena. Screenshots, photos, emails. Everything, time-stamped and organized, complete with a closing sentence that read, "If this is who you're trusting with your brand and your values, proceed at your own risk." The fallout was immediate. Comments vanished from the gala livestream. The sponsor banners started coming down behind Clara mid-speech. One, then another. Her voice faltered. She glanced offstage twice, lips tightening. 15 minutes later, the livestream was cut. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she burst through the front door, red-faced and panicked. "Nate," she stammered, kicking off her heels, nearly tripping over the welcome mat. I don't know what's going on. Someone hacked something. Eric's wife, she sent. I was calm. Waiting. "Sit down," I said. She stopped cold. Something about my voice made her blink. "What?" I slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were divorce papers, printed emails, a breakdown of shared assets, and a formal notice of relocation. "I'm moving out by the end of the week," I said evenly. "You have 3 days to do the same." She didn't touch the envelope. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. All those trips. The lies. You made me into a fool in my own home. My voice never rose. You didn't just cheat on me, Clara. You built a second life on my back and laughed about it with your friends. Tears welled in her eyes. She sat down hard on the edge of the couch. I didn't mean for. Stop, I said. You don't owe me an explanation. Just pack your things and go. She broke then, sobbing, messy, mascara streaking down her face, hands clutching her hair. But I felt nothing. Not anger. Not joy. Just stillness. I'll send a mover for your stuff if you're not out by Friday, I added. She nodded, shaking, still trying to process the weight of what she'd lost. I stood, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door. Let her sit in it. Her career. Her image. Her life. She'd wanted power. Now she could feel what it was like when someone else finally took it back. Clara didn't leave by Friday. She left by Thursday night. I came home to find the driveway empty, her side of the closet bare, and a half-hearted post-it note on the kitchen counter that read, I'll send my new address when I get settled. Sorry for everything. Like she was apologizing for forgetting to feed the cat, not for detonating our entire life. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. Not at first. I kept waiting for a second wave, the rage texts, the voice messages begging for one more conversation. But nothing came. Just quiet. 2 days later, Brian called. Dude, he said. You hear about Clara's brand? I hadn't. He sent me a screenshot of her coaching site. It was offline. The homepage replaced by a generic, under-maintenance banner. Her Instagram was gone too. Sponsors had pulled out. Clients bailed en masse. Word had gotten around fast in the authenticity space that Clara's real-life values didn't match her carefully curated brand. Even her backup YouTube channel, Clara and Flo, vanished within a week. According to mutual friends, she tried spinning it, claimed the online space had become too toxic and that she was taking time to heal. But people weren't buying it. The receipts were too real, too detailed. Her so-called best friends? They scattered the moment things went public. The same women who clinked wine glasses and laughed about Eric vanished like smoke. Tessa blocked her. Maya stopped answering her calls. One by one, the women who had been ride or die during brunch and mimosas went silent the second Clara's ship hit the iceberg. Even her parents weren't buying what she was selling anymore. I found that out from her cousin Emily, who ran into me at the pharmacy a couple weeks later. She's staying with her mom and dad again, Emily said quietly. Back in her childhood room. You know, with the bunk beds. I almost laughed. Not out of cruelty. Just disbelief. She has a curfew, Emily added, lowering her voice like she was telling me state secrets. Her mom took her car keys one night when she came home late. It's bad. Worse still, her accounts got frozen. Vanessa, my attorney, had filed to contest charges Clara made using our joint credit cards, spas, hotels, jewelry, plane tickets to nowhere. The court locked her finances pending resolution. That meant no cash flow, no business revenue, no credit access. She started pawning things, her designer handbags, expensive shoes she once bragged about buying, because my energy said yes. I heard she canceled her gym membership, stopped getting her bi-weekly facials, even returned the high-end mattress she bought 6 months ago on a whim. I didn't reach out. I didn't answer the one email she sent or the 3 soft messages she left in my message requests on Instagram. Just checking in. Hope you're okay. Would love to talk. No pressure. I ignored them all. Instead, I moved into a small loft apartment near downtown. It was nothing special, just exposed brick and bare furniture. A mattress on the floor. A single frying pan. But it was mine. The silence here wasn't lonely. It was healing. I started therapy. Real therapy. The kind where I could sit in a room and say things like, I didn't even see it coming, and I think I forgot who I was for a while. And for once, someone listened. Really listened. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't rage. It was finally peace. I lost track of time that first month. Days blurred into each other. I lived off gas station coffee and microwave burritos. Some nights I forgot to eat entirely. The silence I thought I needed turned out to be heavier than I expected, too quiet, too empty. The walls of the loft echoed like they missed someone I hadn't invited. I didn't unpack most of my boxes. The mattress stayed on the floor. No headboard. Just me, a pile of blankets, and a floor lamp that buzzed faintly when it got too warm. My tools stayed in their crates. My clothes lived out of duffel bags. It felt temporary, like I was still waiting to wake up from the kind of nightmare you tell your mechanic buddies about over beer with a half laugh and a head shake. Brian noticed first. He stopped by one night after work with a 12-pack and a bag of fast food, dropped it on the counter, and looked around the place like he'd just walked into a construction site. You living here or just squatting in it? He asked, cracking a beer. I shrugged. It's fine. He stared at me. Man, you're eating like a raccoon and sleeping on the damn floor. It's not fine. I sat down hard at the kitchen island and opened a beer. I'm just tired. Brian didn't push. That's why he's been my best friend since forever. But he did text me later that night with a simple message. Go to therapy. Clean your dishes. Join a gym. Pick one. Just start. So I did. All three, actually. Therapy sessions became a strange kind of refuge. I told the therapist things I hadn't said out loud in years. Not just about Clara, but about how I never felt like I could speak up in the first place. How I ignored red flags because I didn't want to seem insecure. How I'd stopped asking for more because I thought loyalty meant self-sacrifice. He listened. He didn't fix me, but he made space for me to stop pretending I was okay. A few weeks in, I started going to a local gym near the hangar. Nothing fancy, just weights, sweat, and the occasional guy grunting like he was fighting for his life. I liked the routine. I liked having somewhere to be that didn't feel like a minefield. Then I found an old paint set in one of my boxes. Acrylics, brushes, canvas boards from some art class I'd taken years ago and never told anyone about. I stayed up until 2 that night sketching out a scene from a photo I took once on the tarmac, sky bleeding into orange, a jet half in shadow. It didn't look great, but it felt good. Eventually, I joined this hiking meetup group. Brian's idea said I needed to be around people who didn't know Clara the brand or Nate the mechanic. That's where I met Lila. She was quiet, wore thick-framed glasses, and carried a backpack twice her size. Said she was an architect. We ended up walking side by side for most of the trail, talking about trees, weird clients, and hiking boots. At the end, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I said yes. It was awkward, but good. That same week, Clara tried to reach out again. An email this time. Something vague about hope and growth, and maybe reconnecting when the time is right. I archived it without reading the rest. Because the truth was, I'd started buying my own furniture. Picked out a couch I liked. Hung up one of my paintings. I didn't need to rebuild what we had. I was building something that finally felt like mine. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. I was at the hardware store picking up drywall anchors. Nothing poetic. No big moment. Just an aisle full of bolts and plastic tubs and a soft voice behind me that said, Nate. I turned around, and there she was, Clara. She looked different. Not just physically, though she'd clearly lost weight and her hair was pulled back in a messy bun I'd never seen her wear, but in her posture. The usual shine in her eyes was gone. No polished smile, no perfect timing. Just her. Smaller. Real. Hey, she said, tucking her hands into the sleeves of her hoodie. Wasn't sure if it was you. It's me, I said simply. We stood there, an awkward bubble of space between us as strangers passed by pushing carts full of mulch and furnace filters. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel angry. I felt nothing. Just calm. Clara swallowed, like she was bracing herself. I'm moving, she said. To Denver. My cousin offered me a place for a few months while I get back on my feet. I nodded. Sounds like a good reset. I'm in therapy, she added, voice quiet. Real therapy this time. Not the Instagram kind. That's good. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I looked at her. Really looked. There was no mascara, no camera-ready glow. Just a woman standing in a hardware aisle owning the wreckage she left behind. I mean it, she went on. Not just for cheating, but for treating you like a placeholder. Like someone who'd just keep loving me no matter how far I pushed. She laughed once short and dry. Truth is, I didn't know how to love anybody back then. Not really. I nodded. Yeah, I know. She looked surprised that I didn't argue or ask questions. I thought about writing a long message, she said. But that felt selfish. Like I'd be trying to rewrite how it ended. You're not wrong, I said. We stood there a second longer. The silence wasn't awkward anymore. Just settled. Clara offered a faint smile. I'm glad you're okay. I nodded. I am. She stepped back slowly. Well, I won't keep you. Take care of yourself, I said, and I meant it. You too. She walked away, hands still in her sleeves, head lowered. I watched her disappear around the corner of aisle 18, next to the garden hoses. And that was it. No tears. No drama. No last-minute pleas. Just two people who once shared a life and now stood on separate paths, finally walking away without looking back. I stood there for a minute longer. Then I picked up my anchors, paid at the self-checkout, and drove home to the loft that finally felt like peace. Not victory. Not revenge. Just peace. And that was enough.